Germany built the most feared tanks in history: the Tiger, the Panther, the King Tiger. Machines so powerful, Allied soldiers reported them before they even fired a shot. But here's what nobody tells you: most of these tanks were already obsolete by the time they reached the battlefield. This is every German tank of World War II, ranked, explained, and put in context. 5.4 tons, 13 millimeters of armor, no cannon, just 2 machine guns. The Panzer I was a training vehicle. Germany sent it to war anyway. Spain, Poland, France. Crews died in what was essentially a tin box. 1,500 built. All of them bought Germany one thing: time to build something better. Panzer II, faster, still not enough. 8.9 tons, 20 millimeters autocannon, 40 kilometers per hour, fast enough for reconnaissance, useless in a real tank fight. France 1940, Panzer IIs fired at Matilda tanks with 78 millimeters of armor. The rounds bounced off. 1,800 built. Most retired by 1942. Speed without firepower is just a fast way to die. Panzer III, the backbone that hit its ceiling. 22 tons, 37 millimeters gun, later 50 millimeters, 5-man crew, reliable, well communicating. The Panzer III dominated France and North Africa. Then it met the T-34. The 50 millimeters gun couldn't penetrate Soviet armor at combat range. Germany tried fitting a longer gun. It didn't fit. 5,700 built. Design maxed out. By 1943, it was done. Panzer IV, the tank that actually won the war. The Tiger gets the glory. The Panzer IV won the battles. Only German tank to fight in every theater. 1939 to 1945. Started with a short 75mm infantry support gun. The Eastern Front changed that. Long-barreled 75mm KWK-40 fitted. T-34s killed at 1,000 meters, 25 tons, 80mm frontal armor, 8,500 produced. More than any other German tank. The spine of the Wehrmacht. Quietly decisive. Tiger I, feared everywhere, decisive nowhere. 1942, Eastern Front. A new monster arrived. 56 tons, 100mm armor, 88mm gun. Sherman kills at 2,000 meters. Allied tankers were briefed to avoid it at all costs, but the Tiger broke down constantly. Needed its own recovery vehicle. One Tiger cost as much as 4 Panzer IVs. Only 1,347 were ever built. Feared everywhere. Decisive nowhere. Panther, Germany's best tank. The T-34 shocked Germany. The Panther was the answer. 44 tons. High-velocity 75mm gun. 70mm of sloped armor. Effectively much thicker. Faster than the Tiger. Better optics than anything the Allies had. At Kursk, Panthers killed Soviet tanks at ranges the Soviets couldn't respond to. But early Panthers were disasters. Engine fires, transmission failures, breakdowns before combat. Bugs fixed by 1944. Then Allied bombers hit the factories. 6,000 built. Germany needed 60,000. Tiger II, too big, too late. The King Tiger, the heaviest tank Germany mass-produced. 70 tons, 150mm of frontal armor. The long 88mm KWK-43, the most powerful tank gun in the war. On paper, it was nearly invincible. In reality, it was a logistical nightmare. It broke bridges. It got stuck in mud. It consumed fuel at a rate Germany could no longer afford. At the Battle of the Bulge, King Tigers ran out of fuel and were simply abandoned by their crews. Only 489 were ever built. The King Tiger represents everything that went wrong with German tank design in the late war. More powerful, less practical, arriving too late to matter. Tank destroyers, the overlooked killers. Jagdpanzer IV. Not every German armored vehicle was a tank. The Jagdpanzer IV, Jagdpanther, and Elephant were tank destroyers. No rotating turret, fixed guns, low profiles. The Jagdpanther combined the Panther's chassis with the King Tiger's 88mm gun. It was arguably the most effective anti-tank vehicle of the entire war. Low silhouette, devastating firepower, faster than the tanks it was built to kill. But again, production numbers killed the concept. Only 415 Jagdpanthers were ever made. Panzer 35T, the Czech tank Germany stole. Before Germany built its own tanks, it took someone else's. The Panzer 35T was a Czechoslovak design. The LTVZ-35, seized after Germany occupied Czechoslovakia in 1939. 10.5 tons, a 37mm gun, crew of 4. It was actually better than the Panzer I and Panzer II Germany had at the time. 218 were pressed into German service. They fought in Poland and France, performing reasonably well. But the Eastern Front destroyed them. The hydraulic steering system froze solid in Russian winters. By 1942, they were gone from frontline service. The Panzer 35T is proof that early German armored strength was partly borrowed, not built. Panzer 38T, the Czech tank that refused to die. The second Czech design Germany absorbed was even more successful. The Panzer 38T, the LTVZ 38, weighed 9.7 tons, same 37mm gun, reliable engine, simple to maintain. Over 1,400 were built and used by Germany. It fought in Poland, France, the Balkans, and North Africa. But its real legacy came after it was retired as a tank. The 38T chassis became the foundation for the Marder tank destroyer and later, the Hetzer, a tank that became obsolete as a tank and then had a second life as something more lethal. That's called engineering efficiency, something Germany desperately needed more of. Stoogie 3, the tank that wasn't a tank. The Stoogie 3 wasn't a tank, it was an assault gun, no turret. Fixed 75mm gun on a Panzer III chassis, cheaper, lower, harder to hit. Over 10,000 produced, more than any German tank. It killed more Allied armor than the Tiger ever did. Nobody talks about it. The most effective German armored vehicle of the war, and the most forgotten. Hetzer, small, cheap, lethal, 15.75 tons, low profile, sloped armor, 75mm gun, built on the Czech 38T chassis, cheap and fast to produce. 2,584 built in just over a year. Crews hated the cramped interior and poor visibility, but as an ambush weapon in 1944-45, it was ideal. Small enough to hide behind a barn, lethal enough to kill a Sherman. Elephant/Ferdinand, the monster with a blind spot. 91 rejected Tiger hulls. Germany turned them into tank destroyers. 65 tons, 88mm Pak 43, 200mm of frontal armor. Nothing the Soviets had could touch it. At Kursk, Ferdinands tore through Soviet tank lines at extreme range. Then Soviet infantry walked up and destroyed them with grenades. No machine gun. A fatal oversight. Survivors got a machine gun and a new name, Elephant. Most were lost, not to enemy tanks, but to their own mechanical failures. Nashorn, the long-range sniper. The Nashorn mounted the 88mm Pak 43, the King Tiger's gun, on a light chassis. It could kill Soviet heavy tanks at 2,000 to 3,000 meters, but it had almost no armor, just 10mm on the sides. It was never meant to brawl, fire, relocate, disappear. 473 built, every one of them a precision instrument, not a brawler. Get too close and it died instantly. Jag Tiger, too heavy to fight, the heaviest armored vehicle ever mass-produced. 71.7 tons, 128mm gun, 250mm of frontal armor. Nothing the Allies had could penetrate it head-on, but the transmission collapsed under its own weight. The engine, borrowed from the King Tiger, was already underpowered there. Most Jag Tigers were blown up by their own crews to avoid capture. Only 88 completed. The ultimate weapon that couldn't move reliably enough to use it. Maus, the tank that never fought. 188 tons, 128mm main gun, 240mm of turret armor, the heaviest tank ever built, by any nation, in history. It never fired a shot in combat. 2 prototypes built. It couldn't cross a single bridge in Europe. Top speed, 20 kilometers per hour, on a good day. When the Soviets closed in, Germany blew both up. The Soviets pieced the wreckage together into one complete vehicle. It sits in Kubinka, Russia today. The Maus is what happens when engineering becomes an end in itself. Why Germany lost the tank war. Germany's tank program tells one story very clearly. Quality alone cannot win a modern industrial war. The T-34 was simpler than the Panther. The Sherman was simpler than the Tiger. But the Soviets built 57,000 T-34s. America built 49,000 Shermans. Germany built fewer than 9,000 tanks of all types combined in its best year. The Tiger required 300,000 man-hours to produce. The Sherman required 18,000. Germany designed tanks that were masterpieces of engineering and production disasters. Every tank on this list was more powerful than its Allied equivalent, and none of them were enough. From the Panzer I, a machine with 2 machine guns and barely any armor, to the King Tiger, the heaviest combat tank of the war, Germany's tank program was a story of constant escalation, brilliant engineering, and fatal miscalculation. They built the most feared tanks in history. They just couldn't build enough of them.